I'm very excited to have you all joining the Green Room, a peaceful space for progressive minds. I think this is very important for us to feel that we are together, to feel that we are progressing and going to some amazing place, going through different times, challenging times, trying times, but still having a hope and working on our visions in terms of how our future should look like. And today I'm absolutely thrilled to have Erica Hart. We will introduce Erica in a moment. Erica is fantastic casting director and producer, one of the most powerful people in industry. I was so amazed when I asked her, Erica, can we just get hold of Stevie Wonder? And Erica said, yes, of course. Next day, we were in touch with Stevie Wonder, which for some folks may sound impossible, unbelievable. So Erica has a great experience in industry, in how to prepare yourself, not only for the camera or stage, but for public events. So I'm very pleased. Erin is with us. Erin, hi Erin, will be our moderator for this session. Okay, and so the floor is yours, Erin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second installment of this Green Room series. Like Omar said, I am Erin, and I have the great pleasure of moderating today's event with Erica. She's super accomplished casting director, as Omar has said, and also she helped us produce this whole Green Room series, which has really been a great opportunity for students, staff, and we're so glad that she could make it to be a part of this as well. So before I get started with the conversation, at the end there'll be 10 to 20 minutes for questions. If you have something really pressing during the middle, then you can bring that to our attention. But I'll give a little mini overview of casting in case anyone is unfamiliar with this thing, because it's kind of one of those unknown aspects of film. A lot of times it goes unnoticed. Casting directors are the unsung heroes of film, TV, theater. I mean, they do commercial work, like pretty much anything that you need actors for. Casting directors are there to help bridge that gap between director and actor. And casting is an extremely interesting aspect of film, not only because of all this behind the scenes work that goes before the film even starts, but because unlike most other aspects of film, this one is dominated by women. So it gives it a much different feel to it. It's strange that this unsung, hero group is also dominated by women, unlike other fields. And with that kind of unsungness, they often don't get recognized even in awards as well. So even though the Oscars has things from best engineering to best editing, all different acting things, they don't have an award for casting directors, even though casting is one of the, you can't complete a film, you can't complete a project without the casting director's creative and artistic eye to help fill those roles that the director is looking for. So that's something that has caused a lot of controversy and anger in this community, that this is one of the big first creative steps that a film would take, and these creatives aren't getting noticed for their great work. So I'm glad that we get to acknowledge and speak with Erica today, because she's done a lot of work for us, and her resume is amazing, and she's done a lot of work outside. So welcome, Erica. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you all and get to know you a little bit better, and let's talk about casting and everything in between.
Yes. So I think my first question would be, can you talk to us about how you got involved in casting and what your kind of journey to get there was?
Yeah, of course. So I always knew that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I just didn't know where in the entertainment industry. I remember I got my first camera when I was 9. It was like the high 8 clunky Sony camera. I have it somewhere, I think. That was like my first camera. It was like $300. I got it for Christmas from Circuit City. I was very excited. Like that was my only gift I had for like my birthday and Christmas, like was this high 8 huge camera. So that was in the lovely year of 1999. And then in the lovely year of 2001, I have a vivid memory of like me holding, I think, which was like a Destiny's Child CD. I think it maybe was like Writings on the Wall or something. I don't know what it was, but I remember like looking in the little booklet they had in CDs. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but they used to have like a little booklet, and it was like the credits of the CD. It had like the producer and the sound engineer and basically who made the CD. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm not in music, but I just knew I wanted to be somewhere in the entertainment industry. And I was a dancer all, from 4 through college, and then did film and things, and then went to NYU for film and TV. And while I was there, the first couple of weeks in college, somebody was like, I want to make a film outside of the curriculum, which was a little crazy because we were 18 and we didn't know really what was happening. But she was very adamant that she wanted to make a film outside of the curriculum in Wellfleet, Massachusetts on the Cape. And she was very adamant on the fact that like everyone had their specific job. Like she was the director, you're the writer, you're the producer. We printed out a crew list from like IMDb, and the second to last thing was casting director. And I'd never really heard of that before. But like looking it up for 2 seconds on Wikipedia, I was like, oh, well, I'm a dancer. I've choreographed, I've put people in my pieces. So sure, I'll do this. I had no idea what I was doing. And while everybody was trying to be the best director, the best writer, the best producer, I was in the corner doing that thing. Right? And nobody really knew what that thing was, and nobody really saw it as a threat. They didn't, because I kind of had this monopoly going, because everybody was like, oh, you did that thing for that film, can you do that thing for mine? And so that's what I did freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, was just cast everybody's films. My senior year, I cast like 20 theses, which I don't recommend any, like you all literally, everybody that had their camera on literally went like this. I don't recommend anyone doing that because being a full-time student, also an intern at NBC Casting, I did that for my senior year, and then running 2 dance companies and then casting 20 theses. Not the best look, but it definitely gave me a crash course in casting that I still, use today and hold dear to my heart. But yeah, I had no idea what casting was in college. I kind of just found out as I went by. And that's the thing, the beauty and the kind of the frustration in casting is if you kind of meet a casting director, 9 times out of 10, it just like, they fell into it. They were either an actor who said, maybe acting's not for me, but I want to be close to actors, or they were a manager or an agent or exec or something. And they were like, I like connecting with people. I like connecting people. So maybe casting's for me, but there's no class for casting. There are books for casting, but it's kind of like make your own adventure, because the baseline is actor comes in, you audition actor, you send actor to whomever has the final say, and then actor shows up to either on set or on stage or wherever. But how you get to that process is different for each office. I've been doing this, if you include college, I've been doing this for about 12 years. And each project that I work on has a different process. So there's always a slight learning curve to it, just because, again, there's no blueprint. Like if you are a DP, there's a manual on how to use an ARRI Alexa or Blackmagic. If you're a costume designer, like, sure, there is design to it, of course, but like sewing, like that is a class you can take. But there's really no class for casting.
I think that's really interesting that, when I hear what casting is and how you explain it, it doesn't sound anything like a mathematical science or something very linear. But I think what I've been reading and just various things about casting, some of the examples that you sent us, like some of the complaints about it is that it's not a creative, like part of, like that's why it shouldn't be part of the, awards or something. It's like, it's that it's not creative when there's no linear, as you just explained, there's no linear way to do it, and each project needs its own special take.
Right.
So I guess could you explain, like, if you had any mentors, like, since there's not a direct rule book, like how some of the mentors in the field or people that you met helped you get the hang of things and kind of figure out how to be a casting director?
Yeah, no, I've been really lucky in the fact that I have never, not never, let me say that. I've only had one boss who is not the nicest person in the world. And I think when people get into the film and television or either entertainment industry, there's the image of someone throwing a stapler at you or coming out like with fire on their head. You know, it's like, oh, you know, we don't need to name the people that I'm thinking of in my head, because they do exist. But I've been really lucky that my professional career has never had anybody who has been terrible human beings. If anything, all of my bosses have been like my moms. So my first boss, professional, after I interned at NBC Casting, and I had a lovely experience there. I interned, and it was great because I interned on a show called 30 Rock for NBC, and then I also interned for their corporate office. So I got to see what corporate casting looked like and what independent casting looked like. And Jess Daniels was a boss of mine who I still talk to today. She's been a great mentor. Katja Blickfeld, who is someone that I really look up to as well, just because she was a casting director. She knew that she wanted to be a casting director when she was 12 because she had a crush on Christian Slater, and Christian Slater's mom, Mary Jo Slater, is a casting director. So I look up to her because she is a casting director, but she's also now the producer of High Maintenance, which is a show on HBO. And she started that show off by just doing it as a web series. And she would come in, I'd be like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? She's like, oh, I shot, you know, High Maintenance. And now High Maintenance is like High Maintenance, you know? So I also produce as well. So that showed me that, you know, you can do something and then do something else. She took the resources that she had as a casting director, her knowledge of actors and her knowledge of that world, and used it for being an executive producer. And, you know, I know the casting director that does High Maintenance, their name is Andrew Feminella, and Andrew always says the fact that, like, it's great because Katya knows actors, you know, and I always get excited when I get to work with directors and writers and producers who know actors, because it's like, it's a love fest. So definitely Jess Daniels, Katja Blickfeld. And then when I worked at ABC, I had the pleasure of working for Marcy Phillips, who is by far one of the nicest human beings in the world, let alone the nicest casting director in the world. I also worked for Jodie Collins, who's a huge comedy casting director, also a manager now. But yeah, no, I've been really lucky to have people not only look out for me in the professional world, but look out for me in the personal world and come and mentor me, not only professionally, but personally, and just care about things that have nothing to do with professionalism, just this to deal with you and to actually love you and care for you on a personal level.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I think,
and I understand, like, I am very lucky and I am very privileged in that, because my closest friends can't say that. That every boss that they've had has been a good human being, and a human being that actually cares about their journey through this, and will teach them not only how to be a casting director, but I think if you are a good person, you know, it shines. So when people are like, oh my God, like, she was so nice or whatever, I just see that as like terrible that someone sees that as like a surprise. You know, it's like, no, we should be good people because we're humans, right? Like, it shouldn't be a surprise. If anything, the surprise would be like, oh, that person's an asshole. That should be the surprise. But it's like, oh my God, they're so nice. You know, when you meet a celebrity, it's like, oh my God, they were so nice. It's like, no, that should be the foundation. That should be the baseline. So I've been very lucky to not have a really bad experience in the entertainment industry when it comes to that. There's some other things we can talk about, but when it comes to like bosses and mentors, I've been really, really lucky.
Really good. So when you first started casting and working with all of these different people, was there something that you had to learn along the way that like was really not intuitive and eventually became like second instinct? Like, you now have a gut feeling about XYZ after working with some of these people?
Yeah, and I also want to talk about Meredith Tucker too, who is a lovely casting director who I've worked with recently for the past couple of years after I left ABC. She taught me a lot about the freelance world. And I think when we get into the industry, we see it as like entertainment, or we see it as art. And when that is a huge part of it, but a huge part of it is the business aspect, right? The deal making aspect, the negotiation aspect, which I hate. I did not go to business school. I actually was a math and science kid. Like I was in AP Cal BC and like all that stuff. So like math and science are like okay for me, but like that's not my career. So when I have to negotiate on different things, or like make the deal, or like talk about money, or that's like my least favorite thing to do, but it's a huge part of it. You know, it's show business. If anything, it's like the business of show. And so learning how to be a good negotiator, because at the end of the day, like casting, you're the middle person, right? Like you said, you're the connector for the actor and the director, but then you're also the connector between the actor and the agent and the manager. Like Omar was saying, it's like, okay, you want to talk to Stevie Wonder? Okay, I'll talk to his agent. You know, that's a part of your job. And that's why I say like casting is a connector. You're connecting to all of these different things. But yeah, the business side of it is just so annoying. I would just rather be like, you want 5 people? I got you 5 people. Now leave me alone. You know, like I don't want to deal with the money. I don't want to deal with like trailers. I don't want to deal with like favored nations. I don't want to deal with any of that. Like, let me just give you those people and then you all deal with that. But there are some instances where that does happen, where, you know, that's all you have to do, and the producers take over and they were like, we'll do the deal, and I'm like, yes. But most of the time, you are the one that is the negotiator, which is hilarious, because like if you look at me, it's like she's negotiating. Like, okay. But yeah, I am. That's who it is.
So when you're doing all of this, or when you started doing freelance, and since you did a lot of work interning at different places in college, how did you kind of like build your foundation when you left college to start doing this more on your own, or in other aspects?
Yeah, I was very lucky, again, that I went to NYU. And I always say that, you know, sometimes you go to school for the networking. And I saw that as what NYU was for me. Sure, I learned a lot. There were many things. I learned how to cut on a Steenbeck. I learned how to load film into a 16mm black and white camera. But every independent job that I have gotten has been because of NYU. Someone I met at NYU, a best friend I met at NYU, my ex who went to NYU, like everything has come from a connector of NYU. Even my job at ABC, which I got 3 months after I graduated, came from NYU. I graduated and looking for a job, as one does when you graduate. And my roommate at the time, and through August of this year, was looking, because he was looking for a job too. He went to NYU. I met him first day of college. His name is Joe. And he was looking for jobs, and he was like, Erica, here's a job for you. It's a paid internship at ABC. And I was like, ooh, great, because back in those days, paid internships did not exist. And so I was like, oh, that's great. And so I looked and I was like, well, Joe, it says that you have to be in school. And he's like, Erica, just apply. And I was like, but it says we just graduated. He was like, Erica, apply. Like, okay, so I applied, even though I didn't want to, because I don't like breaking rules. And I was like, I'm breaking a rule, I'm applying. So I applied, and a couple days later, I got a call from this guy named Vince. And Vince was like, hey, Erica, I see that you graduated. I was like, I know, I'm sorry. He was like, it's okay, hold on 1 second. And so he put me on the phone with my predecessor, John Ort, who is a lovely human being. He was the manager at ABC Casting. Again, a lovely person to work with and work for. Learned a lot from him as well. He got on the phone and he said, so Erica, I see where you graduated. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. He was like, but you know, for the internship, you can't be a student, you have to still be a student. I was like, I know, I'm sorry, I don't know. And he was like, well, you can't be an intern. And I was like, I know. He was like, well, do you want to be an assistant? And I was like, oh, okay. So I interviewed and I got the job. And from that assistant, 2 years later, I got promoted to be a coordinator, and then I was a coordinator for 4 years, and then I left, and here I am. So I always say that is the example of do it anyway, right? Send that email, send that DM, shoot your shot, do it, because the worst that can happen is literally nothing. The worst that can happen is they don't respond or they say no, right? You're not going to be blacklisted. You're not going to be, cast away. You're not going to do anything, but you never know, right? Closed mouths don't get fed. And if I didn't listen to Joe, which he loves to remind me every single time that he can, if I didn't listen to Joe and didn't apply, then who knows where I would be now. But I applied, even though in big bold letters it said that you still had to be in school. But that lane wasn't for me, but a lane was created that I didn't even know. So always do it, even if you're like, I don't know if I'm qualified for it, or I might be a little too overqualified. You never know what's in somebody else's hand. It could be another job, it could be another opportunity. And that's why I say, especially now that you're in school, if you have and honestly, my whole career I wouldn't even be in casting if I wasn't like, oh, okay. That's kind of how I went through the whole, okay, I just showed up, maybe this will happen. So I always say, if you're curious about it and you are available and you feel comfortable, that's a very important thing. If you feel comfortable in your surroundings, say yes. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know where it's going to turn into or what it's going to turn into, because that's kind of what this industry is all about. It's all about, who you're connected with and who they know. And how you show up and do the work. And so yeah, I think just do it. You never know what's going to come.
Yeah, I feel like that's how a lot of things end up happening. I know especially at Williams, it's a small school, but the alumni network is very connected. And so alumni at Williams, for all of you guys who are still undergrads, love to connect and talk with you. So that's definitely an avenue that I think Williams students can really connect with, because we have people all over, and EIFs, they like supporting other EIFs. So definitely to keep that in mind. Now, so for the kind of other side of your job, what would you say to someone kind of got the how you would become a casting director side and how to get into that behind the scenes work? How would you recommend someone who's looking to be an actor provide the best self to a casting director to get a position, or to even give themselves up for other opportunities? Like, where would they start sending in their material? What kind of headshots? How does that kind of work?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So there are some sites, if you're looking for auditions and things like that, Playbill, always a go-to, especially for theater. They always have where the EPAs are, when they are, what's cast, what's happening, who's casting it, etc. So that's really great on the theater side. For the film and TV side, Actors Access is a really great tool, just because it's kind of the industry standard, I guess, because Breakdown Express is kind of their partner company. So Breakdown Express is what we use to put out all of our breakdowns, be it, a big feature film or a small indie short film or whatever. So definitely look at actorsaccess.com to set up your profile. And there's another site called Casting Networks, which is more on the commercial side. So right now I'm casting a Gillette commercial. And last night I put out a breakdown there, and people submitted. So it's the same thing. You put up your headshot, you put up your resume. As for headshots, here's the thing about the headshots and the reels and a lot of this stuff. It's very, very, very subjective. This whole business is subjective, right? If I put 5 executives in a room, and I bring in 3 actors, everybody liking the same person is like lightning in a bottle. And that's why I always say, when you're auditioning, if you book the role, then you've gotten hit by lightning. Even the role of like waiter number 1 of, can I take your order? There are about 20 people at least that have to say yes for that one role, So as the roles get bigger, more people have to be involved, or more people feel like they have to be involved. So when you're auditioning, think of it as part of the job. My boyfriend's an actor, my Some of my best friends are actors, and they're auditioning all the time. If you audition 52 times in a year, that's roughly what, a week, every week that you're auditioning. Most of the time, you're not going to book all of those 52 jobs. Just putting it out there. Statistically, you're probably not going to book 52 jobs. However, how many times did you go into that same office, right? How many times did you go into the same casting director's office? You're not necessarily there to book the job. Of course you are, but you might be trying to book that office, right? And I talk to actors all the time. Oh, I went into so-and-so's office. Oh, how'd you do? Oh, okay, great. And then a couple days later, oh, I didn't get that role. Okay, well, did you go into that office again? Yeah, they saw me for another role. Okay, that's a victory. That means that they see you in this world and they see potential and they see that you can fit in. Or if all these casting directors are working on multiple things, they might bring you in for another project, or we talk all the time. They're going to recommend you to another casting director, so you're going in to book the job, but you're also going in to book the future possibilities that might happen. So I always say, especially for film and TV, the number one thing that you have to think about is, how would I do this, right? TV is a personality game, and my foundation is TV. TV is a personality game. TV is an evolving medium. It's the only medium, for the most part, that writers are writing for these actors, right? So if you take Scandal season 1, Olivia Pope, the lead character of Scandal, compare that Olivia Pope from the pilot, which is the first episode. If you compare it to the last episode of that series, season 7, episode 14, if you compare those two, that Olivia Pope is different. Why? Because Shonda got to know who Kerry Washington was. That Olivia Pope would be totally different if Sinai got it, or if Gabby Union got it, or if Taraji got it, because these are all different women, right? And so whatever makes Kerry, Shonda put that into the role as time went on. So it's very, very important that a lot of actors take away the thought process of, what do they want? What do they want? They don't know what they want. They're looking to you to show them what they want, right? Because casting is basically the first time that a writer or a director is seeing their work for the first time off the page in an unbiased manner, right? If they are having a table read with their friends, it's still their friends, right? But you don't know these people, and you're giving their choices, right? And a choice is just an opinion on your work, on that work. So each line, each phrase, each page, each scene, each breath of work should have your choice, should have your opinion. And that's all we want to see, is your opinion on the work. How many people are in here? 18 people. If I gave 18 people the same side, I should see 18 different variations of that, because each time and each person is going to bring their own variation, their own life into that work. So it's very, very important that I see your opinion, because that's going to dictate how someone adjusts you. And realizing that when you walk into an audition room, we're not walking anywhere anymore, but when you enter an audition room virtually, or when you self-tape, you're going to dictate how that casting director or how that producer, if they're in the room, or how that exec, if they're in the room, moves. So the actor has the power, right? I think the idea of power dynamics, it's like, well, how you move is how I'm going to move, right? How you give me a choice is how I'm going to give you an adjustment, or not, So I think, realizing that this is all subjective, this is all an opinion. And I talk about, the word prepared in a lot of my workshops, about how it's not just being off book, but it's being on time. It's printing out your sides. It's coming in with those big, bold choices that only you can do. If you're rehearsing for an audition and you're thinking, oh, will they get this audition from anywhere else and anywhere in the world? If the answer is yes, you got to do it again. Because there's 7 billion people on this planet and there's only one you. So I should only see one audition that can only come from you. So doing that and prepared, figuring out what world we're in that place. Are we in the lawyer world? Are we in the doctor world? Are we in the post-apocalyptic world? Each show is in a world. And am I dressed accordingly to that? That is very important. About how you dress, I think, is very important. But again, things are subjective. Some people disagree with me and some people agree. But I think if you're going in for a corporate lawyer and you're wearing a ripped Abercrombie & Fitch t-shirt, it's going to take someone out of it, right? It's gonna give somebody an extra jump that they have to do to picture you in this world. When you're auditioning, especially for film and TV, theater is different, right? You have the rehearsal process, you have time to pick up that character. With film and TV, I could send you a set tomorrow, right? And so when producers and directors are looking at your auditioning, they're envisioning you first day on set. And that's why I usually say preparedness, because you would be off book, well, your first day on set, you would be in hair and makeup, right? So your wardrobe is very, very important. I know people who've come in for me who haven't been dressed the best that they can be, and we tell them to come back, and they come back and they dress accordingly and they book the role. And we showed both tapes to producers, and the producer is like, oh, who are they? It's like, oh, she wore a blazer for a lawyer, you know, and it's like a whole different person. Doing your research on the producers that you're going in for. What else have they done? What else have they produced? What is their tone? What is their style? You know, if you're going in for a Shonda show or Aaron Sorkin show, that thing flies, right? So each pause is deliberate, if there is a pause. You know, the walk and talk was created from Aaron Sorkin's West Wing. So things like that, and do your research on the network you're going in for. If you're going in for a lawyer on ABC, that lawyer might look different than a lawyer on Fox, which might look different than a lawyer on Netflix, which might look different than a lawyer on FX. Just seeing the world that you're in might answer a lot of questions. Is this a period show? I work on Godfather of Harlem. That show takes place in the 60s. A lot of people were coming in with a big old Nike swoosh on their sweatshirt. It's like, that wasn't happening in the 60s. So I don't know what that's going to do. To me, it just shows a little lack of awareness, a little bit of laziness, things like that. There are so many things in this business that you can't control, you know, especially with casting. Oh, they went with someone who was taller. They went with someone who was shorter. They wanted someone with green eyes. They wanted somebody who had curly hair, et cetera, whatever. But there's so many things that you can't control, that these things like being off book, you know, figuring out what to wear, doing your research beforehand are things that you can. When it comes with headshots, I think it's the hardest thing because that's the first line of defense. But at the same time, I need to see your personality shine, right? There's some things that you can think about. It's like, well, I like to wear color. Okay, well, wear color in your headshot. You know, I know a lot of people who love to wear color, and then for some reason they're wearing a black turtleneck with a black background. It's like, why would you do that to yourself? If you're a person who loves color, wear color. If you're a person who does not like color, you know, I wouldn't like do it all black, but like, you know, reflect you, because that's what a headshot is. It's 1/16 of a second, you know, whatever the frame rate is of you. So, you know, maybe try to have someone that you know take your photos, especially like if they have a nice camera or something. If you want to pay a lot of money for headshots, that's great. I would always say maybe talk to the person who's, you know, for 15 minutes, or, you know, maybe show up before, just so that you can have a good rapport, a good conversation with this person, because you will see your film and you will see the top of the film when you might have not felt as comfortable through the end of your film of the 2 hours, where it's like, oh, I wish I was more comfortable at the top, because wow. Try to get to know these people that are taking your headshots, because these are the people that you're going to take out that personality and take that money shot. So I always also say, like, maybe not try to buy something new for your headshots, you know, because then you're like playing with your shirt and you're trying to figure things out. Have something that you already like wear, so you know how it falls, you know how it looks. Yeah, so it's a personality game, guys. I can't stress it enough. From your headshots to your reels to your websites, all of this is a brand of you. This is all of a reflection of you. And whatever you are, I should see from your headshot. I should see from your reel. I should see from the font you choose on your website. And most importantly, I should see in your work. You know, if you look at, you know, a lot of these big stars, you know, Will Smith, George Clooney, Jennifer Aniston, Zendaya, they're just playing themselves. You know, there are a couple, of course, of Meryl Streep, or even like a Brian Tyree Henry, who is like a chameleon. A lot of these stars that people see as like movie stars are just saying the words how they would in real life, you know, but we love them because we love them, like their personality that they put on, or that they have. So I just can't stress it enough that I call it the Wizard of Oz rule. You had it within you the whole time. It's really simple. I think what Picasso's quote of like the goal is to paint like a child. I think the goal for acting is like to do whatever your instinct is, Like that's what it is. And trying to figure out how your instinct moves through the work that you have been given. That was a long answer about headshots.
It's a great answer. Very thorough, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, in general, the performing arts in any aspect are very subjective. It's all about, you know, the feeling you get about something. It's like, I don't know why that color is not working for my background, but it's just, you know, that's not what that's not what I'm feeling. So
and that's what casting is. Like I was on a panel a couple of days ago and we had a director on it, and he was just like 9 times out of 10 it's feeling, you know. And after you get to a certain point, after you get past round 1 and you're in the callback, the director is not going to ask how are they as an actor. They're just going to ask how are they ? And it's how are they as a person, right? It's not how are they as an actor. I see that they're talented. I don't need you to give me that. I see that for myself. At the end of the day, it's like, well, why did you go with that person? I just liked them. Oh, so you didn't like the other person? No, I'm not saying that this person's not talented. There was just something I liked about them. I just want to, you know, it's like the whole presidential political thing. You want to have a beer with them. It's very much of like, you know, I just have this feeling of like, I like them. I want to be with them. And that's what television is. You know, it's a voyeuristic experience. It's an evolving experience. And it's an experience that's like, oh, I want to tune in week after week or hour after hour if you're binging. And then you're like, well, Erica, how about the villains? It's like, you love the villains too, right? There's something lovable. There's something delicious about playing the evil character. That's why actors love to play it. You know, I always bring up Heath Ledger as the Joker. You know, you still have to feel for it because you still have to follow this person through this journey. And you know, there's still a human aspect to that person, for good or for bad. And so each character that you have has to have that human quality, because actors come up to me all the time and they say, Erica, I can't play this. And I'm like, okay, let's break this down. Who wrote it? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, did a human write it? Yes. And are you playing a human and not a robot? Yes. Then, okay, there's something in there that you can pull out, that you can relate to, regardless of how you were, you know, brought up or raised or whatever. That person is a human. It was written by a human. Figure out something there, you know, and then the rest isn't up to you. That's the thing. The rest isn't up to you. And that's why I say, if you come in with the full level of prepared and you don't get it, then it's on to the next, because you did all that you can do. It was just something maybe that someone gelled with something else. And I'm very a huge believer of it. Everything happens for a reason. And your lane is your lane. Your journey is your journey. Your path is your path. It's going to happen. It might not happen in the package that you thought it was supposed to come in, but it will happen. You know, you have actors who are like, I want to be, you know, a Tony Award. I want to be an EGOT. And they might get those awards, but as a sound designer, you know, or they might get those awards as a costume designer, or they might get that award as like a Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Peace Prize winning author. Like there's so many things that you pick out that are like, wait, I wanted to do this the whole time. It just came into a different package. So yeah.
I mean, part of this is in theater, in film, and TV, like you said, it's trying to elicit feelings from the audience. So, you know, you can't go into you can't mathematically divine like what people are going to feel and pick based off of what you see on a resume alone. You know, you have to see someone and talk with them. And honestly, just like any workplace, I think you want to like the people you're working with.
That'd be nice. And especially for network television, you know, if you book a series regular, the network style is 7 years. It's a 7-year contract, you know, and it's like, that's why they ask, how are they? Is this person a psychopath? Because who wants to be with a psychopath? I know I don't.
So if anyone has questions, I think we can start opening the floor up for more questions. Otherwise, we can keep talking. If you want to like raise your hand or wave if you have your camera on, and I'll call on you so we don't have people talking over each other. Peter?
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned, because I watch High Maintenance and I'm pretty curious. You mentioned that it was like a kind of a web series.
Mm-hmm.
How did that, do you know how the process of, how did that come to be?
Yeah, so Katya and the co-creator Ben Sinclair, who they were married at that time, they decided to make a series because Ben was typecast a lot as like, you know, bearded man number one, or like, you know, criminal number two, and he was like, no, like, I'm a good actor, like I want to show my skills. And so they decided to make this web series and they put it on Vimeo. And the thing about Katya is she was a casting director, so she knew a lot of actors and she was close with a lot of actors. And so my favorite episode is the one with Helena York and what's his name, Max Jenkins. So funny. And I don't know necessarily, but my understanding is they put it on Vimeo, and at that time Vimeo was trying to start like a streaming service, and it was getting some traction. It started to kind of get viral. People were posting about it, and especially like New York, because it was and is so New York. Vimeo bought it, and so they created, I think, a second season on Vimeo. And then HBO got a word of it. And then HBO was like, oh, we're going to buy this, actually. Thank you, Vimeo. Goodbye, bye, bye, bye. And we're going to take it. And so that's kind of how it went. So that's why I always say, you know, we wouldn't have Broad City. We wouldn't have High Maintenance. We wouldn't have Insecure. We wouldn't have all these other shows that started off online and got traction and moved forward. So always, always, always put your stuff out there. You know, this thing, it's powerful. You know, you don't even need I went to film school, and I went to school with a lot of film dweebs who I love dearly, but you know, they're very pure with their cameras and things, and it's like, well, Tangerine was shot on an iPhone and it got into Cannes and Sundance and it's great. And so, you know, if you have a phone, you have good lighting and I can hear you, that's good enough for me. It's edited well. That's good enough for me. You can do it all on these things. So yeah, if you're like, well, Erica, I'm not a writer, it's like, okay, you have a story, cool. Do you know someone who can write, or can you find someone who can write? Cool. Have them write your story. Collaborate. It's all about collaboration. I write too, but I like collaborating. I have like 3 writing partners, and we just write because we just like to write, and maybe something will happen and maybe not. But at the end of each draft, we like always take a second to be like, oh, we did this. Like it's 100 pages of something. I don't know what it is. It could all be trash, but like we did this. So just get a bunch of people together, and it's practice, right? Especially for actors, it's practice. You can see your angles. Yes. You could see like what side is better, or, you know, play with light. So if anything, if you're like, well, I don't like doing this, at least you have an understanding, right? So like I took acting classes in school, not only because I saw it as therapy, but because it's like, well, if I want to be a casting director, I should also know what's happening, you know, across from me, and see what that looks like. So I think like if you're an actor, know how to set up a light, know how to like lock down a camera, know how to write, like break down a script, not only for like as a character, but like break it down, you know, as a script analysis. Learn, you know, take a writing class. I think it just makes you a better artist, and that's what acting is. It's about living life, you know, and putting tools in your toolbox. So again, that was a long answer on how high maintenance became a thing, but yeah, always put your work out there. TikTok is becoming a thing. People are becoming celebrities and booking series regulars off of TikTok. So let's go.
Does anybody else have questions? Bianca?
Yeah, hi. I just like wanted to know like why exactly you left like NBC or like ABC. Like what were you like promoted or something, or like yeah.
So I left NBC because that was an internship 1-year situation. And then I left ABC after 6 or 7 years because I wanted to spread my wings a little bit more. When you work in corporate casting, it's a corporation, right? So the difference between corporate casting and independent casting, when you're working for a corporation, you're working for a corporation. There's stability in that, you know, even during this pandemic when things shut down, I had to go on unemployment because I was a freelancer. But if I was still in corporate, I wouldn't have to do that, right? There are things set in place to catch you when you fall. So even if you're not working on a project, you still get paid. However, with that comes some cons, of course, with everything. There's balances, there's pros and cons. You can't do a lot of things because it's a conflict of interest. So like I was saying, I like to produce and I like to write and I like to cast other things on the side. It was a conflict of interest. And since I worked with Disney, I had a development deal with another network that wasn't like a network, but it was still a network. And I couldn't do it because it was going to be a conflict of interest for a show that could possibly happen at some point. And I realized that, well, if I want to do something outside of the network, it might be hard to do that if I always have to go through HR or legal and things like that. And so I decided to leave. But the good thing about freelance is you get to do whatever you want. You know, you're free. Whee! You can, you know, I have the lucky and privilege to, while I'm casting with Meredith, I can work with the National Black Theater. I do a lot of stuff with the National Black Theater. I cast feature films, I cast commercials. I can do all of that. I wouldn't be able to do that necessarily at ABC. And also if I wanted to write a short and sell it, I could. However, the con is it's not a corporation, so when you fall, there's nothing to catch you, right? If there's a pandemic and everything shuts down, you go on unemployment because it's job by job, right? So you get paid per project. So once a project is over, you have to go find another one. And so I tell actors all the time that freelance casting directors are like actors. We're waiting for someone to give us the job. We're often competing with like our best friends and people that we know. But another good thing about freelance is that you get the credit. So when I was at ABC, I worked on all the ABC shows, all the Shonda shows, you know, Fresh Off the Boat, Gavilan, I don't know, that just came into my mind. So I worked on all these shows at ABC, but you would never see my name in the credits. That little black ABC logo was my credit since I worked for the company. But as a freelance casting director, you'll see my name on the bold type. You'll see my name on Defending Jacob. You'll see my name on Ray Donovan. You'll see my name on the stuff that I do freelance because that you are that freelance independent casting director.
I also have another question.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And like for like, I know like I'm like I wanted to know if there was like, because you said that like there was like an NBC opportunity was like given, like it was for people who are still in school and stuff. Like what's a good resource for like internships and such when you're still in school?
Yeah. So the internship that I found was on NYU's website called the Wasserman Center, which was open to students. But a good website also, Playbill, is also great for jobs. All of the theater casting directors and even not theater casting directors post things like that. The CSA listserv, if you, Casting Society of America, who I'm a board member of, if you type in CSA casting job or something, the first thing probably to show up will be this job listserv. And it's free to, you just, you know, it's like a listserv. You put in your email and they'll send you job postings of when casting directors are looking for interns or assistants or associates. So that's a good site. Every network, CBS, Viacom, CBS, Fox, MT, you know, like not MTV because that's Viacom, NBC, each network or each studio has their own job listing site. So if you Google NBC jobs or if you Google CBS jobs or whatever job, they'll pop up and you can just look through their job board. Entertainment Careers is a good one. Entertainmentcareers.net, I believe, is what the URL is. And then Mandy is also a good one, especially for the independent side. That's a good one. But yeah, that's something to think about. And if you are thinking about casting, you know, I think the first thing that is always very impressive when, you know, someone is interviewing possible interns or assistants, having a great knowledge of actors, right? And I don't necessarily mean just the Meryl Streeps or the Matt Damons or the Will Smiths or the Tarajis. I'm talking about the people that like you see every week but have a couple of scenes, you know, those recurs or, you know, those working actors that we as casting directors know and love, but people don't know, you know, like you wouldn't know necessarily Michael Gaston or Zaya Whitlock Jr. or, you know, Asapatha Murchison, who is great, but like she could just walk down the street. You know, she did Raising the Sun last year at the festival. But these working actors that like, you know, regular people don't see them as celebrities, but we see them as celebrities because they're on everything and their IMDb is like woo, through the roof. So knowing those actors will get you far, and knowing their breadth of work, because that shows to me your passion in casting, because that's what you're going to learn as you go through the casting and as you go through the ranks of intern, assistant, associate, casting director, or if you're on the corporate side, you know, intern, assistant, coordinator, manager, director, executive director, like all that stuff. Your encyclopedia of actors is going to grow, you know, and that's the thing with casting. They're going to be like, okay, I need a young, you know, Brad Pitt, and it's like, boom, I know exactly who that is. So just getting yourself organized and getting yourself equipped with all the actors who are on stage 8 shows a week, you know, is going to be very impressive, you know, because they're going to be like, oh, what are you watching? You know, you're always going to get that answer or that question when you're interviewing. So always have little questions like that in your back pocket. You know, why are you watching that? Oh, what's your favorite show? What's your favorite movie? Those questions are always going to come up, just as small talk, but just to see what your taste is, because that's what casting directors, and that's why it is an art, because it isn't taste. It is a taste. It is, you know, knowing those people and having that breadth of work and all that stuff is a craft and is a art. So that is very important. Being organized is very, very important. Now, if you're someone who like has papers all over the place, that's fine, but like the organized chaos, you know, knowing where everything is, making sure, like, we all love a good table. Casting directors love a good table and love a good like Word document and you know, workflow and Excel sheet and all that stuff. So that is very important, being organized, knowing where things are at all times. So yeah, those would be my baseline of things. There are, of course, like some technical aspects of like, you know, learning Breakdown Express and casting networks, but like that's like 2 hours. I taught a free workshop for 2 hours where we just went through all of Breakdown Express. It's really easy once you get to know it, but the baseline of it is just knowing as many actors as you possibly can and being organized.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have some more questions?
I have a question. May I?
Yeah.
Erica, I wonder how the industry looks like today. Are we producing TV series and films these days? That's one question. And if so, how the casting process looks like today? Is it via Zoom? We know that traveling, showing up, there are so many restrictions. So how does it look these days?
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a new normal, but things are popping up like daisies. You know, I'm casting a sketch show for HBO Max, Michael Che's sketch show I'm casting right now. That's going to shoot in November. For Life on ABC is in production. I think Manifest is in production. I think all of the Dick Wolf shows, the SVUs, the Chicago PD, Med, Fire, whatever, all of that's in production. Movies are in production. I was doing avail checks for the Michael Che show, and after getting the avail, like, people are not available, you know, they're working, you know. John Krasinski is unavailable until 2022, and I'm like, wow, how did that happen? Okay. Ooh, I thought we were in a pandemic. But yeah, just looking at these avails, it's like everybody is working, you know, not everybody, but a lot of people are working. So productions have gone up, you know, there are different things now. You know, COVID officer is a position on set, and a medic on set, and, you know, social distancing and having crafty and these little boxes, and, you know, the amount of time and outside and inside. So there are definitely, you know, precautions that people are taking, and things might look a little bit different, but people are still shooting things. As for auditions, Everything's virtual. We're not allowed to have in-person auditions. The unions, I believe, prohibit that. And I know a lot of the networks prohibit having in-person auditions just because on a given day, minimum, we're seeing 50 people a day, So on minimum, there's some days, and the office I was at, we shared an office with another casting director. So that's their 50 people and our 50 people. That's 100 people per day, different people each day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week that we're seeing different people. So it gets a little dicey, it gets a little scary sometimes, especially now. So it's self-taping, it's Zooming. Some of these sites have their own thing to do with casting, EcoCast Live and things like that. But I don't know the next time we'll be able to go into an office and actually have in-person auditions.
And if someone from Williams, let's play this scenario. I'm graduating from Williams, and I would like to connect with industry and would like to be offered a job on TV or film. And I know that I would like to get your interest first. What am I supposed to do to get to that point when a casting director will acknowledge my existence and probably will just talk about me with directors and producers? What should I do?
I believe figuring out what shows or what movies you can see yourself in, or if you don't see yourself in, even your favorites, going on IMDb and figuring out who that casting director is, who those casting associates are, seeing if you can contact them. And that's why I say, shoot your shot, Also realizing though, I think people are like, well, how do I contact you? It's like, well, how do you like to be contacted? How do you like to be talked to? I always say, if you're going to reach out to a casting director or producer or a director or agent manager, focused, succinct, and concise, right? Hi, I'm a New York actor. Okay. Making it as focused as possible. Hi, Erica, I see you're casting this show. I think I would be great because here's my headshot and resume and a link to my reel or a link to a recent self-tape I did or my website. Hope to hear from you soon. Thank you. I think that is clear. It shows, why you're contacting someone, but it doesn't give, someone's whole life story. And it gives me what I need, your headshot and your resume and something to look at. Even if again, don't feel like you have to have a reel, but like, that's why I said maybe you did something with a friend, or maybe you put a monologue on tape or things like that. That I wouldn't put that on your reel because again, a reel is a compilation of professional looking work. But here's a self-tape, here's something I did just to show your range and stuff that maybe your resume might not show. So yeah, figuring, again, that goes into the preparation, that definition of preparation. Who are the players in the game and how can I contact them? At this time, DM someone. We're all in quarantine, we're all at home. I called in someone for this commercial because they sent me a DM and I was like, oh, you look good for it, I'm gonna bring you in. So I think people are always, that's the joy of casting, is finding that new face that maybe not someone would know and trying them out. That's a good thing about what's happening with virtual auditions, especially with self-tapes. We have time to play and we have the ability to send it out to more people than we would in a given space and time. So I think it's important to do your work. Even if you are signed with an agent and manager, it's still your career and it's still your way to move through that career. So even if you do have an agent and manager that is submitting you on a project, but you still have that casting director or that casting associate's email them anyway. Hey, my agent and manager said that they are submitting for me for this, but I also saw it and I just wanted to say hey, and here's my stuff as well. So I think just contacting. Again, you never know. Why not?
Super. I hope that that will be very inspiring for emerging artists here at Williams. Now you know how to proceed. You may have follow-up questions, and if so, please feel free to direct them to me. And if Erica allows, I will pass some questions from you to Erica
Please do.
to get you more info on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll. Let's take Hollywood and TV industry and theater by storm. Now we know a gold key, and we know how to open this very sometimes impossible for some folks a door to your success. But I also believe that from hearing your Erica, that there are many things that are universal for those who would like to present themselves for the conference, presenting themselves for the panel discussion, not necessarily for a film or TV, knowing what you're wearing, what is your background, what would you like to appear like. Would you really stick with black color as I do? Now I understand my tough position, Erica. I wear only black. So now I understand why I'm not in Hollywood. It's very, very, very useful.
You wear all black all the time. You wouldn't wear like a pink polka dotted shirt on your headshot, right?
Yes,
like you wear all black all the time. You would you would usually stick to that color.
Yes, I know, but I remember some media in Poland where I come from, some newspapers, folks that they were complaining, asking me to wear something colorful because we need to have something colorful on the front page. And I said, my face will be colorful. Is it not enough? So this is that was my way to go around it. Again, thank you very much, Erica, and thank you to everybody for attending. And you make a great difference, Erica.
Oh, well, I'm happy to be here. And yes, please, if there was something that didn't make sense, please ask, send it off to Omar and please send it off to me. But this has been great, and enjoy what's today, Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday and be safe and be well.
You rock.
All right. Enjoy, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Erin, for all the great questions and moderating.
No problem. Thank you.